The Mitt Romney for President campaign yesterday finally addressed something that we on this show have been talking about for months, something we first raised back in November. We've been hoping for the Romney campaign to address this issue ever since then, but they've just been able to avoid talking about it for months. Until now, this week, Mitt Romney himself finally forced to address it.
Just the other day, you said the president has been trying to fool people with his ads and his speeches about your record. But fact checkers have also taken issue with your ads. Haven't you also played fast and loose with the facts from time to time?
We've been absolutely spot on. And anytime there's anything that's been amiss, we correct it or remove it.
What he's describing there, removing or correcting false claims made by the campaign once you realize they are false, that is a process that a normal campaign does follow. That's what makes this statement so newsworthy, because the Romney campaign hasn't been doing that. That's what we've been reporting since November. They haven't been correcting or removing their own false claims from the record when they are proven to be false, which is a strange decision for a campaign operating at the presidential level. I mean, look at one of the first general election ads released by the Romney campaign. This was released back in November of last year.
We need to provide relief for homeowners. It's going to take a new direction. If we keep talking about the economy, we're going to lose.
If we keep talking about the economy, we're going to lose. That is how Mitt Romney's ad quoted President Obama. Here's what President Obama actually said.
Senator McCain's campaign actually said, and I quote, "If we keep talking about the economy, we're going to lose."
So the Romney ad tried to make it sound like President Obama said this thing that he was quoting someone else saying, and he was quoting it to say that he disagreed with that statement. I mean, there are lots of little lies in politics, little exaggerations, but that's a really big, really bad lie. And it was their first ad against President Obama. And so naturally, Mitt Romney got skewered for this, for building his first general election ad on a really obvious blunt lie. What did the Romney campaign do about the whopper in that ad? Did they correct it or remove it, as Mitt Romney now says has always been his campaign's policy? No, they didn't. That ad is still up on their campaign webpage. Not only did the Romney campaign not remove or correct that ad, Mitt Romney himself defended it, just as it was getting all kinds of attention for being a lie, remember?
There was no hidden effort on the part of our campaign. It was instead to point out that what's sauce for the goose is now sauce for the gander.
Sauces and gooses, whatever, but Mitt Romney didn't correct or remove the ad that had the lie in it about what President Obama said about the economy. He said essentially there, I mean, what are you going to do about it? Also geese. It was the same dynamic at work with this other Romney campaign ad seeking to make political hay out of the Solyndra bankruptcy. This one's from May.
The Inspector General said contracts were steered to friends and family.
That is not true. Point of fact, the Inspector General did not say that. That is an empirical claim. It is empirically false. You can check stuff like that, which again, the press was quick to point out. So has the Solyndra ad with this whopper about the Inspector General been corrected or removed? No, it has not. It is still right there on Mitt Romney's campaign webpage. And then there's the now infamous welfare ad from the Romney campaign from last month.
President Obama quietly ended the work requirement, gutting welfare reform.
That is not true. That did not happen. President Obama did not strip the work requirement out of welfare quietly or otherwise. Quite the opposite, in fact, which again has been pointed out ad nauseum by political reporters. But the Romney campaign's response to getting caught lying about President Obama's welfare policies was not to correct or remove the ad, like Mitt Romney said has always been done. That ad is still there on their campaign webpage. In fact, the Romney campaign responded to all the criticism of that ad by telling BuzzFeed at the time, quote, "We're not going to let our campaign be dictated by fact checkers." When Jim Acosta from CNN was asking Mitt Romney about playing fast and loose with the facts yesterday, Mr. Acosta asked specifically about the untrue welfare ad.
Anytime there's anything that's been amiss, we correct it or remove it. The president, on the other hand...
Even the welfare ad?
Absolutely. Look, it has been shown time and again that the president's effort to take work requirement out of welfare is a calculated move.
The president has made no effort to take work requirements out of welfare. So even as he is claiming that his campaign corrects the record when it gets caught getting the facts wrong, Mitt Romney is repeating the exact falsehood from the welfare ad that got him in so much trouble with all the fact checkers in the first place. I mean, here's the thing. Campaigns get stuff wrong. Campaigns make claims that in the heat of the moment get overstated, or maybe they say things that they know are wrong, but they hope they'll get away with them, but then they get called on them and then they have to apologize. I mean, that sort of process is not weird here. That's normal. That's politics. What's strange here is not that the Romney campaign has made some false claims in the campaign, right? What is strange here is that when they have gotten things wrong, when they've been called out for getting things wrong, they have never tried to fix it. They have not treated it as a concern when they have been caught lying, when they have been shown to be making demonstrably false claims. It doesn't cause them any stress. But even within the Romney campaign, I have to say there is another model for dealing with problems like this. And this, I think, may come from the way that Mr. Romney was beaten so badly in 2008, the last time he ran for president. It may have left his campaign determined that he not get stuck with that flip-flopper label again. So even though they leave the ads with the lies in them up, right? Sometimes Mr. Romney goes on TV and says a different kind of lie, in the sense that he invents a brand new policy position that he's never had before. But after he does that, his staff follows behind him and quietly releases statements taking back his quotes. When Mr. Romney was asked in an interview with Univision America Radio last week, he's asked about one of his controversial immigration advisors, Chris Kobach, who's the guy who wrote the Papers, Please law in Arizona. Mr. Romney said he had not met with Chris Kobach and that he couldn't even confirm whether Chris Kobach was actually a member of his policy team. That's what he said in the interview on Univision, but later that same day, the Romney campaign quietly corrected the record, saying Mr. Romney has in fact met with Chris Kobach, and that, yes, Chris Kobach is a Romney campaign advisor. So Mr. Romney tells an interview he's never met with Chris Kobach, but then his campaign says, actually, what he said there was not true. Same thing happened last month when Mr. Romney came out with a whole new policy position on abortion rights when he was being interviewed on 60 Minutes.
I'm in favor of abortion being legal in the case of rape and incest and the health and life of the mother.
Mitt Romney says he believes abortion should be allowed to protect a woman's health. You just heard him say it right there. Afterwards, his campaign came out and said that's not actually what Mitt Romney believes. A spokeswoman, while refusing to say that Mr. Romney misspoke, nevertheless told NPR that Mr. Romney doesn't actually support the legal right to have an abortion if you need one to protect your health as a woman. The same thing happened earlier this month when Mr. Romney came out with a whole new take on Obamacare during an interview on Meet the Press.
I'm not getting rid of all of health care reform. Of course, there are a number of things that I like in health care reform that I'm going to put in place. One is to make sure that those with pre-existing conditions can get coverage.
I'm not getting rid of all of health reform. After Mr. Romney said there he wanted to keep the part of health reform that requires insurance companies to cover people with pre-existing conditions, his campaign came out afterwards and said, what he just said there, he doesn't mean that. He does not want to keep that part of health reform, saying that Mr. Romney was not in favor of a law requiring that coverage. The same thing happened a couple of weeks ago when Mr. Romney suddenly retreated from his frequent foreign policy attacks against President Obama, when he suddenly, surprisingly, told George Stephanopoulos on ABC that his red line on keeping Iran from going nuclear is the same as President Obama's red line. After Mitt Romney said that on tape, that he believes his red line on Iran is the same as President Obama's red line, his campaign quietly afterwards said, actually, what he just said there, he doesn't really believe that. They took the quote back. Mr. Romney doesn't believe that. They said, actually, it was maybe the guy who was asking the question. It was maybe Stephanopoulos who was wrong in suggesting that President Obama's red line was the same as Mitt Romney's red line. And when Mitt Romney said, yeah, that is in fact the case, he was just being agreeable or something. Same thing happened again this week. Mitt Romney conceded another one of his frequent attacks on the president. He's been charging for months that President Obama has raised taxes on middle-class Americans. But then he admitted on tape that Mr. Obama has not, in fact, raised taxes.
He's got one new idea. I admit this. He has one thing he did not do in his first 4 years. He's said he's going to do in the next 4 years, which is to raise taxes.
So Mr. Romney admits that President Obama has not raised taxes during his first term as president. He says that on tape, and then his campaign says afterwards, actually, what he just said there, he does not really believe that. Again, they're not admitting that Mr. Romney misspoke. They're not saying he said the wrong word, and they're just saying he didn't mean what he clearly said. What seems to be happening here is that in the moment, when he's talking to an interview or speaking to an audience and maybe he can sense what it is they want to hear, he just says what they want to hear, even if it's not really his position, or he can't remember what his position is supposed to be, or if it's not really what he believes. But his campaign can't have the flip-flop be on the record. They're so sensitive to that label from 2008. So quietly, a few hours or a few days later, they just erase the quote. They just take it back. They say he never said that. They never admit that he might have said the wrong thing. They never say he misspoke. They just try to erase from the record the wrong thing that he said. So it's two strategies here, right? With the ads, they just leave the false ads up saying, screw it, we don't care if it's not true, right? But when the candidate himself says it, they let him say whatever seems right to that audience in that moment right in front of him. They never have him apologize or say he misspoke, but the campaign just quietly tries to change the record later. Whatever you heard him say, he didn't really say that. So with this campaign, you really do have a choice. Which of these two ways of lying is a better way to lie? They've got a lot of practice at both.